although it happened over the weekend, I still have not really done a video on a Trump assassination attempt. And that's because I also don't care about it. There was no real risk to Trump that time, and I don't think it'll have any big impact politically. So I don't really care about it either. So I think this is an excellent attempt to watch Nick Fuentes' video and agree with him again.
Our featured story tonight, we're talking all about the third assassination attempt against President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this weekend. It's like, man, everybody wants to kill this guy. What is up with that? You ever think at a certain point, it's like, maybe you're putting something bad out into the universe if everybody's trying to kill you all the time?
No, the attempts to kill Trump, that's the deep state trying to kill an outsider. It happened. Okay, happened to Kennedy. It happened to Kennedy's brother. Got also killed. It's not an accident that people that the deep state is afraid of get bullets in their head. It's happened a lot of times. So yeah, that's one thing I disagree with. The Butler, that was definitely deep state trying to take out an adversary. And it's rather than doing something wrong, it's because Trump is doing something right. And stuff like he's done, like expose the SPLC or release what he has of the Epstein files, both of them are terrible for the deep state. And domestically, he's doing things the deep state hates. Internationally, they've somehow completely captured him and influenced him there. But at least domestically, he's still a major thorn in the deep state side.
But anyway, not to victim blame, but it was a third.
And if Nick Fuentes doesn't recognize that, doesn't recognize the threat Trump represents towards the establishment, is not factoring that in, I'm a little disappointed, honestly.
Assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner seems to be another resistance liberal nut job. School teacher from California. He appears to be black or partially black.
No, I think that's way too white to be called black, I think. I think mixed race or
black. He booked a room at the Washington Hilton where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was being held. And funnily enough, he checked into his hotel room with a shotgun, a handgun, and a knife the day before the dinner. So think of it.
Yes.
The Washington Hilton is hosting the White House Correspondents' Dinner with President Trump, Vice President Vance.
It's terrible security-wise.
FBI Director Kash Patel, HHS Secretary RFK Jr., Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War. The whole government is in attendance the following day. By the way, we're in the middle of a war with Iran, whose supreme leader declared a fatwa to kill everybody before he was martyred. Trump himself, there's been 2 assassination attempts against him so far. And the day before this momentous occasion, some random person was able to check into a hotel room with a shotgun and a handgun and a knife in his bag. How is this possible? How does this even happen?
Oh, this is just incompetence. This is 100% incompetence. I've been to a few high-end events where very wealthy people are, and yeah, sometimes there are very obvious security holes. They not always, but it's just sloppiness. It's expensive to do security for absolutely everything, and I think this is just sloppiness and cost cutting.
And he says that. He said in his manifesto, he said, I'm surprised they just let me check in. I mean, could you imagine? And I don't want to sound, maybe this is going to sound a certain way, but imagine that. Imagine you get on a train and you're thinking, I'm going to unalive the government in Minecraft tomorrow. You got a bag with a shotgun. You go to the hotel. You're like, hi, I'm here to check in. My name's Nick Fuentes. Here's my license and credit card. What's going through your head? You're thinking are there going to be x-ray scanners? Is there going to be any kind of security protocol here? He gets up to his hotel room. He's probably thinking, how did I make it this far? And so this is how it starts. Following night, the dinner starts, and
I will say that the hotel and the venue where all these important people are 2 separate places. I don't think any Vance or Trump or any of them are staying or visiting the hotel part at any point in time. So it doesn't necessarily make sense that that they need to check people checking into the hotel. What was the problem is that he should never there should have been more security of the event itself, more layers of security there. Apparently, this guy just ran by security in several places.
Trump, I believe, is on the first floor. On the second floor is where the check-in is for the event. The shooter bum rushes the security checkpoint and starts blasting with his shotgun. Secret Service returns fire. He falls to the ground, although it's not clear that he was shot. Maybe he fell. They apprehended him, and that was that. Nobody was hurt. One police officer was shot, apparently by the shooter. It isn't clear, actually, if the police officer was shot by Secret Service or another police officer, or if it was the would-be assassin.
Let's assume it's a would-be assassin for now, because that's what makes the most sense. Since they tackled him and took him alive, I don't think security were firing. That would make sense. If the security was firing at this guy, he would be dead instead of captured alive.
But he was hit in his bulletproof vest and recovered later the same night, so he appears to be fine. Guy was apprehended. He did publish a manifesto. The manifesto they just keep getting worse. The manifesto says something like, surprise to all my friends and family, but no, I wasn't on a break. I was trying to kill the president. And he basically says Trump is a pedophile and a rapist and a murderer, and he's going to kill him for all those reasons. And it's about what you would expect. And it's a big nothing burger, I suppose. Now, this is a story. We're going to read through it just briefly. This is from the New York Times, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Just going to go over some.
It is a big deal in certain ways. It's bad that so many leftists have been disindoctrinated into nonsense. There's been no proof of anything about pedophile about Trump coming out. Nothing has stuff. There's, in fact, a lot of evidence to the contrary, that he was first person who testified against Epstein, for example, and steps like that that show that Trump is not one of the bad guys on that topic. Yet the leftists have tricked themselves into believing he is.
Some of the details here. It says, quote, a California man who the authorities say ran through a security perimeter and fired a gun outside a packed black tie gala in Washington on Saturday was charged on Monday with trying to assassinate President Trump. Prosecutors said the man, named Cole Allen, 31, of Torrance, California, came to the nation's capital with the intention of carrying out a political assassination. He brought a pump-action shotgun, a .38 caliber handgun, and 3 knives. In a federal affidavit unsealed on Monday, an FBI agent said that around
3 knives? Why bother? 1 knife would have been enough, I'd think. No? Why 3?
8:40 p.m. on Saturday, Mr. Allen approached a security checkpoint inside the hotel where Mr. Trump, Vice President Vance, and members of the cabinet were attending the dinner in the ballroom 1 floor below. Mr. Allen ran through a magnetometer holding a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, and Secret Service agents heard a loud gunshot. One agent was shot in the chest but was wearing a bulletproof vest. At a news conference after Mr. Allen's court appearance, the Attorney General said that the injured agent drew his gun and fired 5 times at Mr. Allen, who fell to the ground and was arrested. Mr. Allen was not shot and had only minor injuries. In addition to the shotgun, Mr. Allen was also in possession of a .38 caliber pistol at the time of the arrest. The sound of gunfire outside the ballroom led to a security lockdown as guests in tuxedos and ball gowns crouched under their tables. Mr. Trump and members of his administration were rushed out of the ballroom unharmed. Shortly before the attack, Mr. Allen sent an email to his family and a former employer in which he expressed anger at the administration and the president. Administration officials were the suspect's targets, apparently prioritized from highest ranking to lowest, according to a copy of the roughly 1,000-word document shared by 2 law enforcement officials not authorized to disclose the information. So this is what happened, and I said this at the beginning of the show, and I said this on Twitter. I don't know what it is about this, but I really just don't care. And I'm not sure exactly why that is.
I know why that is, because this is not going to impact anything. The guy never got close to actually killing the president. There was no actual, you see the president, he was just sitting there completely happy or whatever. He was in no actual danger. And so there was no real threat to him. Why care? Yeah, it's a little bit big deal that you have this crazy leftist. No one died. No one died. Why should I care if no one died? Just a crazy leftist is going to go to jail. Everything is as it should be. And it's not going to impact anything politically. Why would I care?
People say basically the same thing, but as the details have come out, and I really just don't have any kind of, I don't have a take. I don't really have much to say.
That's why I have not addressed this until now.
We've heard all the takes I think that there really are about this. This is a left-wing person who is radicalized, obviously. Motivation was to kill the president, radicalized by anti-government sentiment. And it seems like this is a guy that just went postal. This is some
Absolutely.
lunatic that just went crazy. And you're seeing more and more of that. I don't know what that is exactly, if that is social isolation. Maybe AI is playing a role in that. There's no indication of that, but I feel like that's increasing psychosis lately. A lot of drug use lately. I feel like there's a lot of trends underlying, or maybe they're kind of undercurrents happening beneath society, which
Again, primarily, no one died. If a security guard had died, I'd be more annoyed about this and think it'd bigger deal. But this guy, he failed to kill anyone. No deaths, and only him going to jail. The only victim is himself and the years he's going to have to spend in jail and disrupting an event that I care not one whit about.
are causing a lot of people to lose their minds. However, I don't think there's anything that interesting really to say about this other than that. Another person went crazy. It's another left-wing person radicalized against the government.
Yeah.
I would add, if there's anything else to say, it's another case of the Secret Service being completely incompetent. How is this
That I will agree with. Yes, it's another example of that.
even possible?
And this is a bigger deal in terms of that, because Butler, yes, it was Trump presidential candidate, not actual president yet, and it was just him. Here, you have the entire, basically, administration and a lot of other lawmakers. It's a huge amount of important people gathered in one area. It would have been extra important to have security for this, given the amount of how VIPs in the area. It's a much bigger failure in a way than Butler.
I think that's really almost the only thing that you can say about this specific incident is how is it even possible? Like I said, think about the situation that we are in. We are in a state of war. And it is true that the Ayatollah of Iran declared a fatwa against the United States and called on all the martyrs and all the believers to attack the United States, which makes this a high-risk environment. It's also true that the president has been told, and law enforcement and intelligence agents
Yeah, and I'll just point it out now. I think Iran had nothing to do with this, what happened at this event. It was just a crazy leftist.
have also said that potentially Trump was being targeted by Iran from the beginning. I think that's Israeli propaganda. However,
Agreed. But maybe not Israeli, maybe deep state propaganda, both. Deep state is the one who tried to kill him, and Israel took advantage of it and tricked him into thinking it was Iran. Actually, that was the plan all along. The plan was to blame, when Trump died at Butler, was to blame his death on Iran and use that as justification to attack Iran and motivate Manga to hate Iran. Nikki Haley, that stayed into the Republican primaries long after it made any sense for her to be there, after everyone knew Trump had won, she was still in those Republican primaries for the one purpose that when Trump gets shot in Butler, she takes over and tries to rally with Manga against Iran. And it didn't go according to deep state plan, but they did manage to trick Trump into thinking Iran was trying to kill him and took him into this Iran war later, which was one bad thing about the Trump Butler assassination attempt.
However, this is something that our own intel law enforcement agencies have independently said. So you think about the situation, we're at war. The Ayatollah has called on his supporters to attack us. Law enforcement and the intelligence community have said there's an active Iranian threat against the president, whether you believe that or not. They have said that in the past for years. And yet somehow somebody was able to check into the hotel where the entire cabinet would be, not just the president, with 2 loaded guns and 3 knives. And he wasn't apprehended until he, bum rushed the escalator to actually break into the room? How is that even possible? And you have to ask yourself, what if he had a bomb? What if he had a pipe bomb in his suitcase instead of a loaded gun? What if he had some kind of...
He didn't get close enough to use a bomb to kill Trump either, so what? More people would have died, that's all. Security guards would have died.
A device, whether that's a nail bomb or a dirty bomb or who knows, a chemical agent. If this was a more sophisticated attacker, this could have been a catastrophe. This would have been a mass casualty event. You're not talking about just potentially wiping out half the cabinet, including the president and vice president, but also all these people in attendance.
You could just fly a drone into the building, like Russia does on the front line. Drone with an explosive mortar on it. And poof, Maybe one to destroy the wall, one to go into the building. If you're talking about sophisticated attacks, why even bother checking into the hotel? Just bomb it with a drone.
And what would we be saying at this point? If it was some kind of a suicide bomber, again, if it was anything even a little bit more sophisticated than a couple of close-range firearms and some knives, and some knucklehead idiot who thought he was just going to literally bum rush the checkpoint, it'd be a very different story. How is this possible? Especially, how is it possible, again, even the situation with Iran and everything else notwithstanding, how is it possible after there have already been 2 assassination attempts against the president? It doesn't bode well. And it raises some interesting questions. This is where people get a little bit conspiratorial. And this now always accompanies everything that happens, everything like this.
Yeah, I don't think it's conspiracy just because it doesn't have a big enough impact. When if it has no political impact, why bother do a conspiracy to have this guy show up with? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. There has to be a purpose, a way for deep state or someone else to leverage this assassination attempt to achieve something politically. That's a minimum you need for there to be a conspiracy. If it's an assassination attempt that kills no one and results in the guy just going to jail and everyone just moves on, what's there to suspect conspiracy about?
Or even anything not like this that happens, people naturally start to ask, is this even real? Who is this person? Is it really Secret Service incompetence? Is it that simple?
It is.
Because if it is, that's pretty disturbing. And I'm not even sure which is more disturbing. Or is it something else? Was there another stand-down order? Is it the case that the president just doesn't have an active security detail right now? Who knows why that would be? Is there some entity seeking regime change? Maybe some entity that would be pleased?
No, it's not. They wouldn't have. That's not the type of assassination attempt they would have. Like a guy just rushing in with guns. Because look at the table. Look at how many people are around Trump. It's too chaotic. Too many points of failure, and too obvious. The sniper, that type of thing. Yes, you can create a hole, and then normally that sniper would have had like a 90% chance of hitting a shot. More than that. Trump just happened to turn his head, and that's why Trump lived. But this chance of actually getting Trump, you need to create such a security vulnerability. You need to like remove the security guards at the bottom of the escalator, at the top of the escalator, like the ones further out, and have all of those guys like turn around and not do anything for the guy to run in to the room. And because you have a lot of lawmakers, some of them have been in the military, and you have security guards in the room itself. Yeah, there's no way to reliably pull off a false flag type attack with this type of assassin that just tries to run in the front door. That's just, no. It's just an idiot being crazy.
To see the president get attacked, is that perhaps why the event was not secured? Is there a deliberate stand down? And honestly, you don't know. There's no way to know. And it's hard to say, because on the one hand, you'd have to say Secret Service is completely out to lunch. And, whether they're trying not to protect the president or they're not trying to not protect the president, well, they're not. They're not doing their job. And so the only question is whether that's an intentional stand down on behalf of some kind of incomprehensibly complex, shadowy government force, or it's just sheer incompetence. But to me, these are really the only things that can be said about the actual event. Here is, to me, the bigger picture about this, and this is what really makes me sick to my stomach. So, we could go down all these different avenues, and to me, that's really not interesting. You can talk about the left has radicalized people against the government, and you could say Secret Service is incompetent, and you could say also, it's a conspiracy. They wanted Trump to go. They're sending a message.
No. This time it wasn't a message. There was no message. Trump had to actually be in some type of risk for there to be a message. An assassin that never even makes it to within shooting distance of Trump isn't a message at all. It's just unimportant.
Time travel is a factor, apparently. If you know what I'm talking about, there's a time travel element that people are talking about to this one as well.
Time travel is not real, just like aliens are not real. Just throwing that out there.
Go down all those different avenues. To me, that's not particularly interesting. I would say, and maybe this is a good segue, let's say, for example, people like to talk about the radicalization against the president. I don't actually think that's even valid anymore because the president himself is celebrating when people die. So how does that work? And I know that two wrongs don't make a right, and I know that doesn't rationalize or justify or make acceptable murder or an assassination, especially of the nation's leader. But you think about the kind of guy that Trump has become. He wasn't always like this. Maybe there were shades of this that had broken through. Maybe aspects of his personality shined through and surfaced at one time or another. But you have to admit, Trump is totally unhinged now. And he's a completely different person. And now I would say he's just downright wicked.
I think he's stressed and desperate. I think he was tricked into this Iran war, and now he's stressed and desperate. And his presidency is collapsing around him. And he's lashing out and being irrational because he's in a losing, unwinnable situation. That's all. Nothing deeper than that in this case.
He's a downright wicked and evil leader. So, for example...
Yes, now you're just tarring any supporters of Trump. If he was this wicked leader, he would... There are so many examples of the past that things he would do, risk he's taken that he didn't need to take, politically or in just deciding to run for president. Yes, it's his ego, but it's also considering all the shit he got and all the hell he went through. It's I think at some level, yes, it's his ego, but he also is trying to help America. He just, in his second term, he's being a disaster internationally. And we'll find out in future what exactly led to that. But saying he's evil, yeah, I don't buy that. And if you really believe that, Nick Fuentes, I think you're just saying that because you've been, you have beef with Trump.
Example, when Robert Mueller dies, Trump is literally celebrating on Truth Social and saying, I'm glad he's dead. It's good news that this person has died because he was a terrible person. I don't know that I believe in karma, but I do believe that there are such a thing as cause and effect. And I'm not going to say that Trump saying that made a crazy person want to kill him. However, you do realize that there's...
I don't think I've ever celebrated the deaths of someone. And I don't think I ever would. Yeah, no, I could see scenarios where I would celebrate the death of someone if it would take an extreme situation, but if I could clearly see it would save a lot of lives that that person died at that particular time, I would be happy it happened. Not necessarily happy the person's dead, but maybe happy the events played out that way.
There's a bit of a double standard. You can't defend every single thing that Trump says like that when Robert Reiner's kid killed his parents in a horrific, brutal, double homicide, murder-suicide, and Trump says, well...
And when I'm talking about being happy of death, I'm talking about unlawful deaths, like murders. If we're talking about execution for something that was proven beyond a reasonable doubt, that's a different story. A completely different story. There's some people that I think deserve to die, and when I say that, I want them to face justice, to, like, be prosecuted, and then... Yeah, that's how it... I'm not okay with just assassinating. Just, actually, because we need people to turn. We need people to be arrested and then to rat on other people and to bring down deep state. We need people to turn. Just killing people, that doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. Epstein, dead Epstein. Does that help anyone? No. An alive Epstein right now, he could be singing. He could be singing a wonderful song that brings down a lot of powerful people. The world would have been better off if he had lived in prison, cooperating with prosecutors. I want people to live. And, yes, for that specific reason.
Well, he hated Trump. He didn't like Trump, so that's funny. When Robert Mueller dies and Trump celebrates, when he compares himself to Jesus, when he says he's going to annihilate Persian civilization, can you really then turn around and say, it's the left, it's everybody else that has made the rhetoric so toxic? You don't really have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, a little bit. Left does it a lot more, though. Trump doesn't call people Nazis quite as often as the left does. And, yeah, but And Mueller, I need to know more about Mueller to comment more. I think I know which Mueller it is, but I'm not sure.
Anymore. You did. Maybe 10 years ago, there was a time when the left was absolutely powerful and it was not symmetrical at all. There was no equivalency at all. And the left wanted us dead, and they were explicit about it. And right-wingers were pleading and begging for mercy and apologizing and just wanted to be understood. It's not really like that anymore.
The left is just as insane and more violent now. Back then, that time he was talking about, you weren't having the leftist violence was actually lower at that time. Leftist violence has gone up since then. So what are you talking about, Nick Fuentes?
Let's be honest. And so I can actually empathize with the left a little bit. It does ring hollow when Melania Trump and Erica Kirk go on Twitter and they want to bitch about the rhetoric. We need to turn the temperature down. Oh, it
has gotten worse. Okay, here as independent, it's not on your side or against you, Nick Fuentes. I just say it has gotten worse. There weren't the people leftists just trying to do violence. It was deplatforming that was a problem in 2016, like you experienced. It was they weren't trying to kill physically conservatives. They were trying to destroy their lives through deplatforming, debanking. Yes, that was terrible, but it wasn't violence. The violence that is more recent, last 4 years phenomenon of a lot more unhinged leftists doing mass shooter events or running people over with their cars. It's the violence has gotten worse on the part of the left in the last 4 years compared to like 2016. So you're rewriting history if you're trying to say something else, Nick Fuentes.
So crazy. Well, look, it's kind of like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You don't want to go on Twitter every day and say, I'm glad Robert Mueller is dead. I'm glad Robert Reiner got murdered by his son.
Trump again is self-destructing because of the stressful losing situation he is with regard to Iran. And so I'm not going to, he's saying crazy stuff. He threatened to destroy Iran's civilization. He's doing stuff like that. He's completely unhinged and flailing out. So I can't really defend any of his tweets since the Iran war started. I'm not going to even try. But trying to do what Nick Fuentes is and trying to impugn Trump's character because of his tweets since the Iran war started. No, you can't do that. That's just he's under stress. He's losing a war. His presidency is over. His world is collapsing around him, and he's just flailing around. And you can't view his tweets in the last 2 months and then say, oh, he was always a bad guy. No, I won't accept that. And you're not being honest if that's what you're trying to portray, Nick Fuentes.
Annihilate Persian civilization. If you care about Epstein, I don't need your vote. You're an idiot. Like, if you're doing those kinds of things, and then the left calls you a horrible person and a monster, again, I'm not trying to rationalize that or justify that in any way. I don't believe murder is ever the solution. I'm a Christian. And I don't believe that 2 wrongs make a right. It doesn't justify, because it is.
He doesn't believe 2 wrongs make a right. Then why are you urging your voters to vote Democrat? Isn't that sort of like, doing something batshit like that?
True that the left, their rhetoric is violent, and they want me dead. They tried to kill me too.
Yet you want people to vote for them, you psycho. I'm sorry. That's one thing. I'm going to hammer him always, 100%, until he stops doing absolutely insane things like telling his viewers to vote Democrat. I will just hammer him, because that is one thing that, honestly, until you stop doing that, Nick Fuentes, I am going to suspect, yes, that you at one point did some deal with the Obama administration, that there might be some links between you and the SPLC. That suspicion will always be there as long as you're urging people to vote Democrat. It's insane for anyone who's actually a conservative, who actually cares about America first, to tell people to vote for people who want America last.
And they try to kill Trump, and they kill Charlie Kirk. But in order to have the moral high ground, here's the rub. You can't go on Twitter then and say, oh, it's this rhetoric. We all need to relax and turn the temperature down. You can't really do that when you're a wicked person. You can't do that when you're reveling in the same kind of stuff.
If you're going to just judge people for just a few of their actions, can I judge you and call you a wicked person for telling people to vote Democrat?
Now, more to the point, this is why I say this is a segue. So we're all supposed to believe that this is a horrible atrocity. We're all supposed to be so broken up about this.
I don't care about this assassination attempt. And I have not been saying that. Don't try to put words in my mouth.
How long did it take after this incident that then all the pro-Trump influencers turned it into a...
Okay, I'm not huge, but I think I probably fall into that category. Actually, I'm not pro-Trump anymore since the Iran war. I think he's politically finished, but still.
social media campaign. This is what I noticed. Immediately after the assassination attempt, it was literally every pro-Trump influencer on Twitter clearly got the memo. And I don't mean that in a manner of speaking. I don't mean that as a figure of speech.
I don't use Twitter.
I mean, they literally got a memorandum. They literally got the memo. They're in a group chat. They're employed by one of these agencies, and they got sent the talking points and then money. They were told, all right, pro-Trump influencers, here's our next social campaign for $300. If you could just post the following message, and the message was, this is why we need a White House ballroom. I'll read a sampling because it is so on the nose. It's so...
I don't think that this is a false flag done to have the White House ballroom. I think it is just someone said, "Oh my God, this is perfect opportunity to push the ballroom." I think that's more likely. That's what happened. It's not worth all the disruption and something as petty as this to push the ballroom. Trump doesn't need that. He can get ballroom without it. But this is just an opportunity to capitalize on the shooting, to get something Trump cares way too much about. Wish he cared more about figuring out the situation in Iran before he bombed the supreme leader instead of this damn ballroom. But what can you do?
So blatant, you can't even exaggerate it. Andrew Colvett from Turning Point USA writes, this is why President Trump needs to build the White House ballroom. Lids of TikTok says, this is why we need Trump's ballroom. Jack Posobiec, thank God President Trump is building a ballroom at the White House. See, so we switch that one around. Wall Street Maverick, we need the White House ballroom. Brylan Hollyhand, build the White House ballroom ASAP. Nick Adams, build the White House ballroom now. Randy Fine, we'd better never hear a peep from...
I will mention, I hope you do too, Nick Fuentes, that this actually makes a lot of sense. That it actually would have been more secure if they'd had the White House ballroom. So all these man guy influencers, whatever, are saying something that makes completely 100% sense. Just pointing that out.
Anyone complaining about a White House ballroom, all of those within hours of each other. That's not a coincidence.
No.
That's not like they all had the same idea.
No, but it doesn't mean there's something nefarious either. Someone, a PR person at the White House said, oh, this might be a good opportunity to push the White House ballroom. Messages all these influencers, and these influencers think, well, if you tell an influencer say something that is true and makes complete common sense, why wouldn't they do it?
Do you know what that is? All of these people are being paid. Do you understand how this works?
Yeah, it paid to push something that's true and makes common sense. It's I think there might be situations where they just do it to curry favor with Trump and they don't even need the payment.
In the old days, politicians and corporations and foreign governments would engage lobbyists. They would pay specialists lots of money.
This is a true point and an important point. Nowadays, influencers are hugely important. And that's why influencers like Asmongold, which I at least discloses it when he gets compensation, are a lot more valuable than influencers who don't.
And this is heavily regulated by the government. And there are disclosures, and there are rules, and there are monetary limits, and all kinds of things. And those lobbyists would use their connections in media, in government, among the political movers and shakers, and they would try to accomplish the goals of those political parties, corporations, and foreign governments. But with the advent and deregulation of social media, now lobbying takes a different form.
Good
And
point.
now foreign governments, corporations, and political parties and entities, now they just pay influencers. This is a real thing. This is not metaphor. This is how it works logistically. They pay influencers. They pay them hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, sometimes more than that. It's completely unregulated. It's totally under the table. And it literally works like that. They say, we will pay you $3,000
I have not accepted any cash from anyone yet.
if you post a TikTok, and here's the script. And the script has to say this, this, and this. They tell the influencers, make it your
I say yet, but I don't plan on ever accepting anything.
own. Say it in your own words, but we need this hashtag, and these are the points to emphasize, and these are the things that you have to say. You send us the TikTok. It's not even dependent on engagement. It's not dependent on how many people see it, like it, comment on it. It's just that they do it, and then they get the payout. That is what this is.
Yep.
So think of it. Some psycho goes to the White House ballroom to eliminate the entire government.
Okay. I'm going to end it here. He's made some interesting points, but yeah, some psycho goes to a ballroom, and yes, the Trump administration tries to take advantage of it for PR. Maybe some influencers get paid. Influencers getting paid to say something that's common sense and true, that yes, that event would have been much more secure if held at White House ballroom. That's just undeniable. Then more secure than just at a hotel. So I have no problem with any of that. And I still don't care about the assassination attempt because no one died. It's not going to impact anything in the long term or even in the short term. And I'm not going to be talking about it again, I don't think. That'll be it for this segment. This will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kiko or Twitch. And I'll see you next video. Bye.